crashed through the roof.
The tree came down on a truck parked in front of that home.
Concerning heat. Worldwide July temperatures cross a concerning threshold. What it could mean for future weather? And is all this heat really for the birds?
Our feathered friends struggle too.
Making a connection. We'll take a closer look at grounding and the possible benefits of reconnecting with the earth.
So one fingertip touching a leaf on a tree will ground you, the same as if you're laying at the beach.
Plus dramatic new images from the Webb telescope.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. All day Monday, people from New York to Alabama were on alert for a powerful storm moving east. Thankfully, the storm was not as destructive as it might have been, but there was plenty of cleanup to report this morning. This was a scene about 30 miles north of Charlotte, North Carolina. Heavy winds took down this tree and also several others in that area. Power lines also came crashing down. As of this morning, over 100,000 are without power in North Carolina. Unfortunately, one of the two storm-related deaths happened in Anderson, South Carolina. A 15-year-old boy was visiting his grandparents during the height of the storm. That's when a tree fell on two cars and a detached garage, killing that teen. The other death was in Alabama, where a 28-year-old man was struck and killed by lightning. The storm also brought strong winds to northern Alabama, knocking down trees and also power lines. This video you're looking at comes from our storm chaser, Brett Adair. A church and library also suffered significant damage. We'll have more on that coming up, though, in just a few minutes. But now I want you to check this out. The wind blowing down roughly 30 power poles in Westminster, Maryland. Those poles crashing into 34 vehicles, trapping dozens of people inside for hours, including young children. Everyone was finally rescued by midnight. The road, though, will remain closed and without power, at least for a while. And about 50 miles south of Washington, storm chasers found huge hailstones. Look at this. These measured 4.5 inches, around the size of a grapefruit. While there are no records for hailstones that size in Virginia, these really could be the largest to ever fall in that area. And we have team coverage of the storms and the damage from New York to the Washington suburbs. We start outside of Baltimore, Maryland, with reporter Keith Daniels.
Well, it was a fast-moving storm, but it was in this neighborhood long enough to do some serious damage. Look over here, a tree crashed through the windshield of this car. And take a look up there, a tree crashed through the roof.
We saw half of the roof collapse that was on the floor of the spare bedroom.
Phil Pasquale and his wife Letty were inside the house. The husband in the kitchen, his wife in the living room.
We couldn't get out the front door, and
Because the tree?
The tree was totally blocking it. We were pretty much trapped.
The back door also blocked. Firefighters arrived. Crews cleared the way for the couple.
The fire department, I think they moved some trees or did something so that we were able to get out around the back. Thank you, God. It could have been a lot worse.
Well, this is quite literally stopping people in their tracks. You can see here at Queen and Pitt Street, crews are working on a tree down across a roadway. Unfortunately, it looks like the tree came down on a truck. We captured the strong rain and lightning on State Route 267. Viewers also sent in these videos to 7 News Chime In, showing rain, hail, and the wind shaking trees.
It's wild. What a wild thing.
Being from Oklahoma, Mandy Qualls says she is used to hearing about tornadoes. But even after living in central New York since 2015, observing what she described as a small tornado from her car was still a surreal feeling.
It was very surreal. I knew that by looking at the clouds that it looked like that it was definitely a small tornado, and it's just not something that you see around here. Especially with the terrain, with the mountainous terrain, you're kind of used to seeing it back home where it's nice and flat.
From her parked car along Route 38 in Cortland County, Qualls says she saw the clouds moving in all different directions, not to mention the huge funnel in the sky moving south.
And we return now to Alabama, where damage from the storm was widespread. Austin Pratt spoke with residents who were impacted by the severe weather.
A number of properties were damaged across Coleman County from the winds and falling trees. Center Grove Baptist Church was hit as well. Pastor Jason Vincent describes what happened.
As I was back there in that choir room, and then the power went completely off. And so just a few minutes after that, I heard just a lot of banging and a lot of loud noise, and honestly thought that the roof might have blown off.
But the roof did not blow off, just the steeple.
And so I walked up to the front foyer of the church and looked to my right, didn't see anything, looked out to my left, and there laid the steeple in the middle of the parking lot.
Another building damaged in the storms was the Coleman County Library.
It looks like where when the winds came through, that they hit the upper windows across the back. They were shattered, and I have seen there's shelves that are down inside, there are materials that are down.
The library is closed until further notice.
A tornado touched down Sunday in central Illinois. You can see the damage, leaving trees, power lines, and even homes destroyed. Julia Rosaire spoke with two homeowners who had severe damage to their homes. For one, this wasn't the first time her home was hit by a tornado this year.
When I got out, I looked down the road and you could just see a mass of dark clouds all the way to the ground, and I yelled at my daughter to come out and look, and she said, forget the car, go to the basement. So
Susan Higgison says Sunday's tornado damaged her home and left trees and debris across her property. But she says this isn't the first time. Her home was also hit by a tornado just a little over a month ago on June 29th.
we were just feeling like we're getting someplace when it hit again, but we're blessed. No injuries. The time before, it blew the wall outward that you're seeing now isn't there. This time it blew it inward.
Higgison says no one was injured, including 15 animals.
We're just so thankful. 8 horses, 3 cows, 2 dogs, and 2 cats outside, and not a scratch.
In Taylorville, Brad Kaufman says the tornado took off a whole side of his home.
Got everything pretty much. As you can see, the house and the shed's destroyed, and we're just lucky we weren't home. And
Kaufman says he was about 10 miles away from his home when a tornado ripped through it.
we got phone calls, and we started coming home, and we couldn't really get here because of all the power lines and stuff that were down.
Kaufman says family and friends have come to help with the cleanup.
I feel very lucky. I mean, it could have been way worse. A great family and friends here that are helping us, clean up and kind of get through it. So, people have had a lot worse than what we have right now.
And now to the heat. Nearly 60 million Americans from Texas to the Carolina coast face heat alerts today. What is happening now could be a glimpse into future summers. European climate experts say worldwide, the average temperature in July was 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than pre-industrial era. Scientists have long considered that threshold as a key tipping point for the planet. If temperatures stay there, we could face even more extreme weather. This is the 11th time the world exceeded that threshold, but just the first time in the summer. Nearly 37,000 scouts are scrambling to leave the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea. This as a powerful typhoon approaches the country. The typhoon is expected to make landfall within the next 48 hours. In addition to the storm, hundreds of scouts have also become sick due to that sweltering heat. And now, today marks 37 years since one of the most unusual weather outbreaks in Rhode Island history. During a 24-hour period from August 7th to August 8th in 1986, 3 tornadoes hit Rhode Island. It was the first time in state history 20 people were injured, but thankfully no one died. Rhode Island had 3 tornadoes again in November of 2021. And if you're looking for more great weather content, follow us on social media. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code that's in the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how the intense heat in the South is impacting local bird populations. And we'll look at what role the weather is playing as students prepare to head back to the classroom.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. The line of showers and storms that brought severe weather for a large portion of the eastern half of the U.S. yesterday continues to march east this morning. That line is located over parts of New England this morning, and our greatest chance for flash flooding will be in the mountains of New Hampshire and also Maine. We're going to keep an eye on that. The trend will be for improvement today, and the payoff day is Wednesday. I think we'll see a lot of sunshine with low humidity for a change. Look for highs in the 70s and 80s.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region through the day on Tuesday, starting off with 60s to near 70. Actually gorgeous, some sunshine coming back, temperatures into the mid to upper 80s, and lower humidity levels in the wake of our latest weather maker, a cold front, and it will make some inroads. So some nice drier weather coming for our Tuesday and for our Wednesday, although warmer temperatures near 90 return for midweek. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Readers. A look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Looking at Nashville, 85 degrees, 85 Atlanta, 90 Raleigh, 95 in Charleston, 99 in Jacksonville. So that front that's brought all those strong storms is going to continue to bring in a little more cooler air behind it, but definitely ahead of it, still some hot temperatures as we've seen. So you can see that we saw those showers and thunderstorms that pushed through. Now we still have another round of showers and thunderstorms pushing through Alabama and Georgia as we go through the afternoon.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Severe weather swept parts of the eastern and southeastern U.S. Monday, from this approaching shelf cloud in Hagerstown, under the shelf cloud in Alexandria, winds after the cloud moved over, to this time lapse of the storm passing through Lansdowne, Virginia. In central York County, Pennsylvania, this tree barely misses an old outhouse as lightning strikes in the distance.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Connecting with Earth can be a healing experience, and there's research to back that up. Meteorologist Emily Gracie and the National Weather Desk producer Ryan Berlin spoke with Dr. Laura Conover, also known as the intuition physician, to learn more.
And the Earth has this electrical heartbeat, that DC energy. And so it's constantly pulsating out with that. And then our body runs on DC energy just to maintain wellness. We've done tons of medical studies now showing when someone is connected to the Earth's energy and when they're not. And there's a synchronization, and it actually puts our body in a healing state. And it instantaneously relaxes our muscles. And I don't mean just like we feel relaxed. I mean, looking at an EMG, muscle tension on a study, sham grounded versus grounded, the actual muscle tension drops instantly. Your brainwave patterns within a millisecond shift into a more healthy, less stressed out pattern. So getting into the alpha brainwaves, and anything that's electrical, your heart rate variability within a couple seconds starts to get boosted. So it's a very immediate response when you are synced up and regulated by the natural energy of the Earth, as opposed to being totally disconnected and self-regulating.
If somebody wants to try this, what's the best way to start? And are there different ways to do it?
It's really our whole body that's conductive. So one fingertip touching a leaf on a tree will ground you. The same as if you're laying at the beach. As long as it's rooted in the ground, everything living is DC energy. And so those plants are also grounding you. And actually, there's a lot of surfaces outside that allow the energy through. They're semi-conductive, so cement, so sidewalks are all grounded. And I do this a lot in an urban setting. You just sit on cement steps outside, and like if you can just have your hand resting there, you can, be weeding through your emails or eating your lunch or whatever, and you're grounded the whole time and no one knows what you're doing.
And what do you say to people who say, well, look, of course you feel better. You're outside, it's sunny, you're nice, you're probably taking a walk, you're enjoying yourself, you're not worried about work, you're relaxing. So yeah, you're going to feel better in that. Who knows if it's whether you're touching the ground or not.
Well, we do know, because we have all those medical studies where where we take all that away and we're indoors and we have a sham ground and a real ground. And then we see those physiologic responses. So we do know, but I would also agree with them. I wouldn't poo-poo that. Of course, there's additional benefits. There's medical studies that show just seeing a tree through a window makes people get out of the ICU faster. I would say, yes, you're right, all of those things. And we also know grounding provides something else.
And to find out more about grounding and how connecting to the earth can improve your health, check out our podcast, Off the Radar, where we have a longer version of today's interview. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcasts. One group who's probably not so happy about spending time outdoors are kids heading back to school. The unrelenting summer heat is not letting up as students start practicing outside for sports or even for band, putting them at risk for heat exhaustion or even heat stroke. Betty Cross has more on what school staff are doing to keep those illnesses at bay.
Tuba players shoulder the biggest burden during summer band practice. A little shade and a lot of water help them hold up in record-breaking heat.
I've been doing it for a long time, and this is one of the hottest, clearly one of the hottest.
David Mobley has been band director at Round Rock High School for 16 years. Every day, he and his students try to drain these gallon-sized jugs of water.
We drink a lot of water, and we take breaks, and we go indoors when we have to, in the air conditioning.
Most students are acclimated to the heat and can manage the sun exposure with frequent breaks and being cautious during marching practice. But a few have felt the impact of the heat wave.
Students have had to stay home because they've needed to, because they've been, the heat has gotten to them.
To prevent problems, the Round Rock School District works with Ascension Seton to ensure athletic trainers are monitoring high-intensity practices for football and other sports.
They work with the coaches to make sure there's plenty of rest breaks and drink breaks, as well as they're looking for the signs and symptoms of heat illness.
Dr. Lee Romero is a sports medicine physician with Ascension Seton. She says the extreme heat can call for extra precautions.
Sometimes we'll weigh athletes before and after practice, so that way we can see if they're losing a lot of water weight during the practice.
This week's record-setting temperatures even had the Round Rock Fire Department providing some wet relief. Everything helps when the weather is on fire.
You have probably heard the expression, this weather is for the birds. And in Austin, Texas, just about everyone is complaining about the heat. But how are our feathered friends weathering the triple-digit temps? Chicago Windler went on a bird survey to find out.
In the midst of this historic heat wave, you might be surprised to know how much bird activity there is all around us, even just a mile away from downtown Austin.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. This is our monthly bird survey.
Cheryl McGrath is a volunteer with the Capital Area Master Naturalists.
Very loud for a tiny little bird.
She leads groups down these trails owned by the University of Texas.
What we're going to be doing is hearing things that we can't necessarily see.
The Brackenridge Field Lab is an 82-acre research station. Typically, people are pretty surprised to see how much we have out here and how much data we collect and how much science goes on.
The science starts with observation. So with a sharp eye and a keen ear, we set out on a 2-mile hike to document all the birds.
Nice and close, that's a Carolina wren.
Experienced birders learn bird calls, but also use technology.
Merlin is an app that you can put on your phone for free
to help identify species.
There are some lesser goldfinch.
Each observation is then entered into a database called eBird.
This is one of the most important databases in the world for tracking what birds are being seen and heard.
We spotted or heard 23 species on our hike, a good sign that birds are braving the heat and not disappearing.
Our feathered friends struggle too, but they, generally speaking, are adapted.
We also saw encouraging signs of young birds that have hatched in our heat wave.
It's a beautiful eastern phoebe. It's a flycatcher, and oftentimes it will just dance off if it sees a bug.
Wendy Hart is an avid birder who snaps pictures of many of the species she spots.
I think it's really great, and I think birds are an amazing barometer of the environment and how climate's affecting the environment.
But it's not all for science. There's something magical about this place.
What I would consider the illusion of seclusion.
In Austin, Texas, I'm Chicago Windler for the National Weather Desk.
And a bit of space news. The Webb telescope recently captured a stunning new look at the iconic Ring Nebula. The new image captures never before seen details within the colorful nebula. The Ring Nebula has been observed for years and can be seen through amateur telescopes. The nebula is home to the remnants of a dying star as it releases the bulk of its mass. Before we head to break, a stunning view of England's southern coast at Old Harry Rocks.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Taking a look at your weather across the Midwest. Things remaining kind of temperate across the area. We're staying in the 80s most of the Midwest. 79 for the high there in Milwaukee for the coolest temperature here. But a couple of isolated showers there. Got thunderstorms developing for the day tomorrow, though. Moving their way in from the south. And as we continue on into your Thursday, that shifts more towards the Ohio Valley. And out of here, a couple of thunderstorms there to the north as well.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off a little toasty, mostly into the 80s across South Texas and to Louisiana. Cooler as you get up into Oklahoma, maybe up into North Texas. We'll be watching some rain that'll fire up along Louisiana and Mississippi. Maybe a little sea breeze shower down toward Louisiana, but for the most part, looks like it's going to be another triple-digit day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. The excessive heat advisories continue across the four corners. Very dry weather continues the elevated fire risk as we're expecting some mountain thunderstorms to stretch up through parts of Idaho and Montana. But the next weather makers moving through, we have an area of low pressure trying to bring cool weather down into the southwest, but it's only going to spawn to those mountain thunderstorms while it stays dry for the Pacific Northwest. That's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
We bring you great weather content here on the show, but we also have a ton of great stuff on social media. Here's a recent TikTok post from meteorologist Cherison Clark explaining sea breeze.
Another installation of whiteboard weather. Today we're talking about something that usually takes place or forms along the ocean, but really can take place and form along any large body of water, and that is the sea breeze. Let's pretend that we're in Charleston, South Carolina, okay? So we've got the water, that's the Atlantic Ocean. Here we've got the land, but then you also have the sun right here. That sun is warming up both the water and the land, but the land warms up just a little bit quicker than the water. So here you have your land, which is much warmer than the ocean. So that warm air will start to rise. But then that colder air over the ocean, that'll start to push a little bit further inland. And that'll actually replace that warm air that's rising. So you have that unstable atmosphere, you have that warm air rising, that's your lifting mechanism. That's when you're going to start to see those showers and thunderstorms develop.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how the intense heat is impacting hops production in the Midwest. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.